Alright guys, so Infinix made a foldable phone and they are calling this one the Infinix Zero Flip. And this is the first time they are making a foldable phone. Now for those of you who don't understand, a foldable phone is actually a big deal right now because the phone involves some moving parts. You have a screen in here, all sorts of things are happening at once just for this phone to function. And this is the reason why a lot of smartphone makers out there right now, including Apple, are not making foldable phones. And even those of them that are making it, like Samsung, you still have a lot of issues, mostly with the hinge of the phone, because a lot of cables and flexes have to pass under that hinge. And so it's basically a lot of work. So seeing this kind of innovation coming from places where I don't expect, like from Infinix of all brands, it's actually a big deal. Now the Infinix Zero Flip is priced at about 1 million Naira or 1.1 million Naira. Basically, it's a $600 phone. And if you look at the competition in the market, or if you look at how foldable phones are priced right now, this is actually very affordable and it's very cheap at that. But with that kind of price tag comes a lot of sacrifices, and they have to cut corners in many places to make sure that you get this device at that price. So we're going to look at this phone and see if it's any good, and see some of the places they have to cut corners and make sure that this phone is priced at about 1 million Naira or $600. First of all, the device comes inside this box here, which is quite big for a phone as small as this. There's a USB-C cable inside. This right here is a 70 watts fast charger. This is a pair of earpieces that comes inside the box. So you have a SIM ejector tool here, and then you have this warning card that comes inside the box that tells you that when closing your phone, please avoid pressing the bending areas of the main screen, and do not place any hard object or sharp objects between the display. You remember what happened when Samsung released the first phone? People who were actually taking off the screen protectors, and at the same time they were peeling out the screen. I think they're trying to avoid that scenario here. That's why they're warning you not to take off the screen protector. And they also tell you that the phone contains precision components to prolong its service life. So another warning here is that you shouldn't put the phone inside water, take it away from water, meaning the phone does not have any IP rating, right? So if you look at other foldable phones right now, they all have some sort of IP rating or the other, but this one doesn't have. Remember that thing I said from the beginning, that some sacrifices were made to keep the price of this phone where it is. Water resistant is one of them. And then this one is funny because I don't know why they will include this, but it says here that a shallow crease on the main screen and a sound during the opening and closing of the phone is normal. You shouldn't be afraid. So they're basically saying that you might be hearing sounds when you're trying to fold this phone and unfold it, that the hinge might be noisy. It's pretty normal. That's what they're saying, but I honestly don't know if that is normal. So first of all, let's talk about the actual design. The design is what you would expect for a foldable phone. I mean, it folds. When the device is folded in half, you have this 3.6 inches display at the front that we're going to come back to later on. The back is basically smooth. It has a matte finish and it has some sort of shiny crystals there, but the back is not glass, the back is plastic. Some other thing that makes the phone feel premium is basically the aluminum frame around the device, right? At the bottom of the device, there's a SIM tray that can take 2 micro SIMs. At the right side of the device, you have a side-mounted fingerprint reader, no in-display fingerprint reader, right? And again, this is a place that they also cut corners to keep prices low. But one thing with this fingerprint reader is that I think I actually prefer it to the in-display fingerprint reader because this thing is so fast. Like, I've never seen any fingerprint reader as fast as this. Okay, maybe I've seen a couple, but this one is ultra fast. Something else I love here is that there is this gasket that goes around the display that actually gives it protection on the edges. So even when you close the display, both sides like this will not be sticky or will not stick to each other and then damage the display. I think that is something very brilliant. So now let's talk about the display on this device. So as you would expect, this is a foldable phone, so it has 2 displays. It has a cover screen. This cover screen is 3.6 inches, but the thing is that you can't use the full 3.6 inches. The right side of the cover screen is used for notifications, and that is where the 2 cameras are cutting out through. And then the left side of it is where you will actually have apps that you use often here. And the thing is that this cover display can run a lot of apps, but you will always get a message that tells you that the app might suffer malfunctioning because it is not built for this kind of display. But so far so good. Apps like Instagram or TikTok, I've been able to use them on this cover display with no issues. But for someone like me, what I've done on this external display is to put my essential apps here. And something you should note about this external display is that you cannot type here. So if you have an app like WhatsApp that you're supposed to reply a message, you have to open the phone before you can type and reply those messages. Basically, it's just a mini display, not for something serious, just for quick things to be done on your phone. Then when you unfold the phone, you have a 6.9 inches LTPO AMOLED display with a 120 Hz refresh rate. And one thing I have to give Infinix for this one is this display is quite vibrant, and you would expect that because this is an LTPO display. But another thing is, because it's an LTPO display, the display is very, very smooth when you are watching videos, when you are doing all the things you are supposed to do here. The crease on the display is still there. Like, you can notice it, you can feel it when you are swiping through the display. But what I love here is that they have made it a little bit wider, not thin, so it's not really that visible, but it's there, you can see it. But when you hold the phone this way, you can't really notice it. But when you're scrolling through the screen, you will definitely notice that crease. But at this point, we all know now that the crease has come to stay, except for a few manufacturers that have tried to eliminate it, but you still feel it there. And remember, this screen is plastic, so they are basically conforming the plastic to this entire frame. So anything that stands in between it, there's definitely going to be a gap there, which is why you are seeing that crease. Now, this display doesn't just fold. You can actually do a couple of things with it. First of all, it has what is called flex steel mode. So basically, in this mode, you can actually bend the device to an angle, and if the app you are using supports flex mode, then you can use the app in two screens. For instance, if you're watching a video on YouTube and you curve the display this way, it goes into what they call laptop mode. So basically, it does this, so you can place the phone on the table, and then at the bottom side of the device here, you now have all the controls that you can control the app, and then whatever you're watching actually displays at this part of the screen. So basically, it divides the screen into two. But flex mode is not supported by every app right now. Even YouTube, when you're watching YouTube Shorts, you can't watch YouTube Shorts in flex mode, but you can watch regular 1080p videos in flex mode. And there's a screen protector on this display. It's nylon or it's plastic. Do not remove it. If you remove it, chances are that you will damage this display. So let it be there. Infinix said you shouldn't remove it. And when it comes to wallpaper options, if you buy this device, you might not need to get any other wallpaper apps, because there are a lot of wallpapers here, mostly for the cover display. And I love the fact that whenever you open the wallpapers, you're going to see the two cameras there. You are going to basically see how the wallpaper is going to look on the tiny display before you apply it. Something I really like that they did there. And then other things here, like always on display, you can actually customize all of that on this display. And then let's talk about the software. The device comes with Android 14 from the box. And Infinix is saying that this device will support 2 years of software update. So this device will be upgradable to Android 15 and Android 16. Now, it comes with a couple of bloatwares, but not as bad as they used to be anymore. At least the bloatwares that it comes now with are things that you will use, like it has Instagram, Facebook Messenger, a couple of Infinix custom apps. So it doesn't come with much like before, that it used to come with some junk apps that were not even usable. Now let's talk about what I think is the most important part of a foldable phone, and that is the hinge. I mean, what is a foldable phone without the hinge, right? Now, here's the thing. The hinge on this phone, let me see if I can show you that. The hinge on this device is a bit wobbly, if you can see that. Can you see? And I've been trying to check if it's my unit that is defective. And I've checked a lot of blogs and others that have reviewed it. And I've seen some people say after using the device for like a week or two, they notice that the hinge is actually very soft. It's not as strong anymore. But Infinix is saying that you have nothing to worry about. That is basically normal. And according to them, they've tested this device for 40,000 folds. So in the life cycle of this device, you are supposed to be able to unfold it 40,000 times before probably anything happened to it, or you need to go and get it fixed. So I hope it doesn't develop into any problems. For now, the device works good. That hinge is not giving any issues, but I'm just saying it's a bit wobbly, and it's something that is supposed to call for concern, because I've used a lot of Samsung foldables and I've always had issues with the hinge. And also something that is worthy of note here, it only wobbles when you try to keep it at an angle. Once you open the device, the hinge is quite steady. There is no flex. The device doesn't shake like something wants to fall out, right? And when it comes to the battery, this phone comes with a 4720 milliamps battery. It has 70 watts wireless charging, and it comes with a 70 watts charging brick inside the box. And it can do reverse wired charging at 10 watts. Now, as for the battery life, it's not an all-day battery. Now, of course, I know battery usage is subjective. So some people are heavy users, some people are not so heavy users. But for me, I've been able to use it to around 2 p.m. or so before the battery ran out. And another time I tried it, it got to about 3 p.m. and the battery was exhausted. And those days were not my days of heavy usage. I'll just use it averagely, right? But for someone that is not a heavy user or a crazy user, you're not using the cameras that much, you're not using much of the inner display, you are not leaving the phone at 120 hertz, the battery should last you longer. But why will you have a phone like this and you're not using it at the 120 hertz? Now, it has only one memory option, 8GB RAM, 512GB internal storage, at least for my region. The processor here is the MediaTek Dimensity 8020 chipset. It's a bit of an older processor because my Tecno Camon 20 Premier, which I currently use, came out over a year ago and is running on the MediaTek Dimensity 8050. So this is running on the 8020, but it still doesn't mean it affects the performance. Performance is still okay, but I just wish it was running like maybe the MediaTek Dimensity 9000. But again, the price of the phone will not permit all these things that I want to be inside this phone. If it was having the MediaTek Dimensity 9000 or 9000 plus, the price will be about maybe $1,000 or $800. When it comes to the cameras, it has dual cameras at the back, and this phone has 50 megapixel lenses all over. The two cameras in front here are 50 megapixel. The selfie camera is also 50 megapixel. When you take selfies with the selfie camera, the selfies look a bit hazy, and sometimes I'm afraid to clean the camera because I don't want to damage the screen, because you know the screen is plastic. So that is why they are allowing you to use the dual 50 megapixel cameras at the back for selfies and for other things. So basically, since this device came to me, I've only taken photos with the selfie cameras just to test them out or just to see how they perform. I've always taken the photos with the rear cameras, which gives sharper photos, more brighter and everything. And also, these rear cameras shoot 4K videos at 30 frames per second. The selfie cameras also shoot 4K videos at 30 frames per second. But honestly, it just feels better. Like, see, this phone can fit into my palm like this, right? So it just feels like a GoPro or something like that. And that is one thing I love, that you can actually flex this phone to any angle and hang it on any surface and take very creative pictures or creative selfies or creative videos. And because the device is so tiny and I can use the rear 50 megapixel lenses to take pictures, this is how I am always taking my photos, like this. Like, I'll just hold it this way very short and I'll take a photo. And also, if you want to take photos with it or take pictures, you don't even need to push the shutter button. You just do a hand gesture like this, and then you're going to get a countdown timer there, and it's going to take the picture. Yes, I know that is not a new feature. The Samsung Galaxies have been doing it since like 2015 or 2014, but it's good to actually have that same feature on other devices.